How's it going, everybody? Matt Montanez back with another plugins in depth video. Today is actually a really good video that I'm actually super happy to share. It's about noise reduction plugins, audio repairing plugins, and the reason why is because I know we've been in this whole recording ourselves at home type of deal now. I'm glad a lot of people are actually learning how to record themselves, but there's been one issue. They're capturing a lot of noise and things in the recording. So it's them doing it themselves, which is great, but it's causing more work on my end when I receive the files. I'm having to edit a lot more. I'm having to clean up a lot of more vocals and things like that. And I'm like, okay, I need a set of plugins that can do this a lot faster. And who do you lean to for noise reduction plugins? Well, first name to come to mind is iZotope. Yeah. iZotope's noise reduction plugins are insane. And I'm talking about the RX8 plugins. Huge shout out to Mac. He's been following me and showing a lot of love on the channel, always checking out the videos and stuff. And he's the one who connected me with iZotope. Thank you, man. I greatly appreciate it. So I was like, it's only right that I show these plugins off because honestly, they're super dope. I've always used iZotope plugins for restoration and reduction. I have the RX6, as you can see here. So I got these RX8s now to try out the new stuff, you know, the mouth De-Click. That's my personal favorite. We got the D-Clip, which I've already had, but I want to see how much better it was. And you can tell it does work a little bit better. I like it, but De-Plosive is so fire. I mean, that's another one I'm gonna talk about today. So before we get started, let me talk about this record. It's by a good friend of mine, Jackie's Boy. It's on all streaming platforms. He did a Christmas EP, so I thought, why not? We're in December. Let's show a Christmas song real quick. Super fire. I have the link in the description below. I actually personally didn't use the plugins on this record, which I wish I did because they could have benefited just here and there. You don't really notice it just because everything going on. You're just vibing to the record and really enjoying it. But if you want to nitpick and like dive deep and like go, all right, here's the acapella, you can hear where I could have used like the mouth De-Click or the Plosive plugin and things like that. So I actually have a few spots marked that I'm going to show. And this is the beginning of verse 1. Then I believe this is the hook over here, which I'm going to show. So let's show off verse 1 real quick.
Saw you outside on a Thursday, middle of December, and it shocked me. Like what you doing here and not up above. Pretty little smile, then you told me.
And here's the hook section right here.
But it's that time of year. It's almost Christmas, and my present just walked out of this club. I think I'm falling in love. It's almost Christmas. I think I've been a real good boy just because I think she might be the one.
So that's the record right there, right? And as you can see, I didn't do too much processing things. I did, of course, the Jason Joshua technique on this one. I wanted to try it. I actually enjoyed it. It was really cool. So I was like, why not? Let's just slap it on all the leads here. A little de-esser. And then, of course, just a tad of auto-tune just to keep everything tight. So let's leave this jumboed. And let's go to the first section here. So I'm going to solo this section so you can hear it.
Like what you doing here and not up above.
And there's a click there. I don't know if you caught that. I'm going to play it one more time so you can check it.
Like what you doing here and not up above.
And that's right here. The first few times you can listen to the record, you can hear it with the music, and it kind of just sounds like it's a percussive instrument or something, a hi-hat. So let me play that with the music, and you'll probably catch it now, but it's just right there in this little section here, right there.
Like what you doing here and not up above.
So it's right there, and it's like, okay, if I want to nitpick, I would use my iZotope plugins, right? So I'm going to come in here. Let's try the mouth of De-Click first, right? It's a very simple plugin. As you can see, there's only 3 sliders, and a bypass button, and an output clicks only button, basically just to hear the process signal or what it's actually doing. So if you click output clicks, you ain't gonna hear no audio unless it detected a click or something it's affecting, then you're gonna hear that, which I'll show you now. So you hear that's what it's pulling out, and it shows 1 repair. We put it back in, we'll actually hear the entire vocal piece.
Like what you doing here and not up above. Like what you do.
Very cool, very easy to use, right? Just if you want to hear what you're doing, you do that. And just make sure you uncheck this though when you click process, because if you have it on, it will write over everything. So it's going to write everything blank except the 1 signal it detected, which I'll show you now. Here we go, we're rendering it. And as you can see, that's what it's detecting and removing technically. So you want to make sure you have the output clicks only checked off. And then we got these three things. Okay, so what are they doing? We got sensitivity, and if you just go over it and just leave it like that, it actually tells you what it does. Sensitivity of click detector controls the amount of detected clicks. So that's what it's gonna do. If you go less, it's gonna be less sensitive. So it's gonna be like, okay, we're only gonna detect every so often. If you go more, it's like, we're gonna detect them all. We can go over frequency skew. Detects more clicks at low frequencies or high frequencies. Lower frequencies to the left, higher frequencies to the right. But the thing to keep in mind is, like, if you go to the lower frequencies, it's going to detect more like the generic stuff. If you go to higher frequencies, it'll detect more like the mouth clicky stuff. So that's from my experience, and actually that's in the documentation of this plugin, which I'm surprised because a lot of times I find I use plugins differently than what the documentation actually says. But I'm gonna be honest right now, iZotope does an amazing job with theirs, and it's dead on. Like, what they're telling you how to use a plugin, use the plugin that way. So then you got click widening, and right here it tells you how it's going to repair the signal, right? You're widening the repair area. For me, like mouth clicky stuff, I feel like it's always good about zero, but I have raised it up to about 1.2. And I'm gonna play it one more time. You're gonna hear that click, and then I'm gonna process the plugin.
Like what you doing here and not up above.
And there's that little click right there. Let's pull our plugin back up. That is the mouth DClick. And let's just click render. And then we'll hear it again and see if you still hear that click.
Like what you doing here and not up above. Like what?
And it's gone. But the super sweet thing that blows my mind with this plugin all the time is there's no artifacts it adds. It literally didn't add any artifacts to it. Like, it sounds exactly the same except without the click.
Like what you doing here and not up above.
And if I undo that,
like what you doing here and not up above,
the little click is back. Super sweet plugin. That one I highly recommend, especially during this time where you're doing a lot more editing than you're used to. So let me move over here to this section, right? And I showed you this section. This is part of the chorus. These two plugins right here, like, are amazing. So I'm gonna use both plugins on this section. So let me play it first, and you'll hear, like, just listen to it.
I think I've been a real good boy just because. I think I've been a real good boy just because.
All right, so in this section, there's a plosive in here that's a little strong. It has a lot of the low end, and it's actually right here. It's so strong, but I didn't want to EQ it, and I didn't want to move the rest of my C6 sidechain plugins because I like what they did overall. So it's like, okay, I can add another plugin, or I could just use a DClick. Like, you can't hear it with the music playing, like I said before.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
But if you solo it, you can hear that bad boy.
I think I've been a real good boy.
Right there at bin, and it's so strong. So it's like, all right, let's try this plosive plugin. So the plosive plugin is very similar. As you can tell, it has sensitivity, strength this time, and then frequency limit. You go over the plugin, it says adjust the amount of detected plosive. So again, you go left, it's gonna detect just less of them, and then right is going to detect all of them type of deal. So just the amount, again, I pretty much leave it at default. Then you got strength, depth of plosive attenuation. So basically, if you think of it like a compressor where it's bringing down those loud noises, if the more you go on the right, it's going to bring them down a lot more. If you go left, it's going to be gentle, less compression. That's the easiest way you can explain, or you can think of it as automation. I'll show you like this, actually. So here's that plosive right here. If you do a higher strength, it's going to bring it down like this, way down here. If you go left, it's going to be more something like this, where it's just a lot less. So just keep that in mind. That's all it's doing, is just bringing it down. Then you got frequency limit, and the frequency limit's a little bit different than the mouth click. Basically, frequency limit is more like highest frequency to attenuate. So basically, you're gonna set the frequency. So right now it's 200. 200 hertz is going to be the highest it's actually going to pull down. Let's say you like stuff 200 and above, you might want to roll it down a little bit. Or let's say you need the plosive to be higher up the frequency, you can go all the way up to 500. So it'll be 500 and down, it's going to bring down in that area. For me, I like to leave it about 200, just the default. I don't really touch it too much. But I noticed, let's say it's doing too much attenuation, it's always better to bring down the strength and then bring up the sensitivity. It just helps to make it sound more natural. So another tip is do this before your high pass filter comes in. So before you roll off any low end, just use this plugin first, and it just makes things sound a lot more natural also. So remember that B sound we got there? Let's just render it and let's hear it.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
So that bend, that beat, it's a lot less aggressive. There's not that full low end anymore that's punching you in the face. Let me undo it.
I think I've been a real good
bend, and that's a plosive. So put it back on.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
And it sounds so good. Like I said, it's so natural. Everything still sounds exactly like it did, except those plosives.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
Even boy got taken out a little bit, so it's like, okay, let's bring this down just a hair and let's render it again and let's see what it sounds like, right?
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
So boy, this time it took care of boy, but it didn't really take care of bend because the bend is a little higher up that frequency. So it's really cool. Like I said, it's a really dope plugin to use. I like that one a lot. And lastly, we have the regular D-Click, right? So let's go to noise reduction and let's pull out our D-Click, sorry. And the D-Click is the same thing as mouth D-Click, but it has an algorithm. And the algorithms just slightly do different things. So you got a single band, multi-band, periodic, random, and then a low latency mode. If you go over this, it tells you the kind of quality it's gonna process. Same thing, the click detector, how aggressive you want it to be. You get click widening again, and then you get the frequency skew, which it's the same thing, lower and higher frequencies. And it doesn't work on single band. Basically, single band is just gonna be, I guess you can say, a generic or default setting. If you go to multi-band, random clicks, periodic random clicks, or low latency, you can actually move the frequency skew. So let's talk about these bands. So the thing about this plugin I should mention that's different than mouth D-Click is this one checks out the waveforms irregularities overall, and then it makes the decisions on what to do on taking out those noises, cell phone interference, especially since a lot of people are recording with their cell phone now in front. It can cause interference and just cause noises inside the recording, like weird electrical sounds, pops, clicks. It can do all that stuff. Single band's pretty much a generic. It's just going to go through and real quick just take out what it finds. Periodics kind of finding the repeating sounds, like if it continuously goes. Random's more like finding vinyl things, how vinyl kind of pops and clicks just randomly with dust on it and things. That's what that's finding. So it's cool to use for like samples even. And then you got low latency, which can actually be used in real time. That's pretty much what it is. For me, I just kind of stick to the single band, like I said, default settings. And we have a funny click over here, right? So let me play it again. You'll hear it. It's like right here at the end.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
Right there in that cuz, it's just like a funny mouth click almost. So I'm just gonna leave it on single band and just do its thing.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
And it's just a lot less harsh and it just really sounds better. So here's without it.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
And there it is. It's just rough around the ear. And if you play it with the render back on,
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
You still got that consonant, that full C in there, but it's just a lot less. Super dope, right? Once I got my hands on these plugins, like I cannot stop using them. It's making my editing obviously a lot cleaner and clearer. And then of course you get like a bunch of other stuff in the whole bundle. You get of course the music rebalance, voice denoise, spectral denoise, dialogue isolate, and things like that. I haven't dove so much into them, like I was messing with them a little bit. Let me show you the voice denoise real quick. And it's such a dope plugin. It has adaptive mode. You can make it learn the audio sounds so it can pull out the noise you don't want. There's a learn button here. Let's just click it and see what happens. It says it's rendering. So it found some stuff. And let's click play.
I think I've been a real good boy just because.
And then it shows you the waveform and everything, what's going on, and you can make your adjustments on how you want it to reduce stuff. It's super dope. So I'm gonna just boost this up for now.
I think I've been a real good boy just because. I think I've been a real good boy just because. I think I've been a real good boy just because. I think I've been a real good boy just because. I think I've been a real good boy just because. I think I've been a real good boy just because.
Even there, when I put reduction all the way, you can hear that the music actually got quieter, not affecting the vocal too much, which is super dope. So if you get a lot of bleed and stuff, this is definitely a plugin to really rely on to clean all that up if the artist doesn't want to do another take. I know I'd rather just tell them, hey, do another take, we're getting a lot of bleed or something. But a lot of times you can't do that, especially right now when people are recording themselves. That's a super dope plugin. Like, that's part of the bundle. And then you get a lot of extra stuff. De-reverb, which I didn't play with too much because I haven't had an issue with reverb, but you get de-rustle. That's like, you know, I have a lavalier mic on right now. If I'm kind of moving too much, it's rubbing against clothes, you can use that bad boy. Super dope bundle. I highly recommend it. And honestly, I don't think I'd touch another editing session without those plugins. They're too dope. So here's this record again. I hope this video was super helpful for you guys to actually see, like, the iZotope RX8 bundle is insane and it's like a must-have. I'm gonna mess with these plugins more, really the ones I didn't show. I'm gonna try to do a de-reverb, de-rustle, and also a DS. I'm curious about the DS and the breath control because I've used waves and they're okay. The de-breath plugin, it's okay, I don't use it. The de-esser, the RD-esser, you guys all know that's my favorite one. That's the one I'm always using. It's even right here. I want to see what this de-breath, how it actually works. So I'm going to get back to another video using that one, de-rustle, like I said. And we'll even just mess around, make some crackle or get some de-noise in the guitar plugin, and we'll try that out. But for now, vocals, 3 that I can't live without is this here, that D-mouth click, that De-Plosive, and that DClick. All 3 of them are must-haves. I highly recommend them. So let me know what you guys think. Once you get your hands on them and you start messing with them, they're super dope. Once again, as always, like, subscribe, share. And I'm going to play this a little bit so you guys can hear the rest of this record or hear more of it.
Saw you outside on a Thursday. Middle of December and it shocked me. Like, what you doing here and not up above? Pretty little smile, then you told me, come a little closer, get to know me. I love your vibe, you'll sing